Hey, what's up everybody? Mystery Wheel Gunner here. Alright, going to show you the super duper safe way to decock one of these modern day double action, single action revolvers. I'll show you the technique, then I'll walk you through what's going on. So we are empty for this demonstration. So, hammer's cocked. Super safe way to decock it. Put your thumb right in there. Pull the trigger to release the hammer. And then take your finger away from that trigger. You're done with the trigger at this point. Grab hold of the hammer, take your thumb out of the way, and then lower the hammer. Alright, now for the explanation. These modern day revolvers will have either a transfer bar or hammer block safety. This Python has a transfer bar safety. We're going to look at this one first. So, if you look there, alright, you see that little bar right there? So this hammer is machined so that it cannot hit the firing pin ever without that little bar in the way. Okay, this has a frame mounted firing pin, it's right there. So without that transfer bar, the face of this hammer hits nothing but air. It needs that bar in there to fill that gap. So essentially, the hammer hits the transfer bar, hits the firing pin, hits the primer, gun goes bang. The only way that transfer bar will come up and stay up is if you pull and hold the trigger back all the way while the hammer is falling. So see that transfer bar right there? Watch what happens when I take my finger off the trigger. You will start to see the transfer bar actually drop down as the hammer comes forward. Oop, let me release it. Watch that bar start to drop down. See how it's going down? And then, by the time the hammer gets there, that transfer bar is out of the way, it can't fire. So, by doing it like this, you know, the super duper safe way, even if your thumb slips at this point, as long as your finger's not in there, that transfer bar, the transfer bar is going to drop down by the time the hammer gets there. That's why it's important to let go of this trigger. Because if you decock it like this, and you keep your finger on there, and you accidentally let go, this can fire now because the trigger is being held back. All right, so remember, release, no more finger on the trigger, just grab the hammer just enough so your thumb can get out of there, and then let it go. Now that's with the transfer bar. Let's go look at another system with the hammer block. This is the 627 V-Comp from Smith & Wesson. The Smith & Wessons use what's known as a hammer block safety. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult to see what's going on because the hammer block is in there. With the transfer bar, at least I can show you where that transfer bar is. This one is totally internal, so unless you've got X-ray vision, you're not going to be able to see it. But I can at least demonstrate what's going on. But the technique is still the same. All right, so put your thumb in there, fill up all the space, pull the trigger, which will release the hammer. Keep your finger away from the trigger, grab the hammer. Don't pull it back, just grab it enough so that you can get your thumb out of the way, and then ease the hammer down. So let me try and demonstrate the hammer block real quick. Notice the position of the hammer. Now the only way this gun can fire is if the trigger is pulled and held back during the entire duration of the hammer fall up until contact with the firing pin. Notice how far it sits in there when the trigger is pulled and held all the way back. Okay, it is contacting the firing pin right now. Maybe you can even see that protruding in there. But watch what happens if I let go of the trigger. See how the hammer comes back? That's the hammer block coming up to basically create space between the hammer and the firing pin so they are not touching. So, let's go through this again. Fill up all the space with your thumb, release the hammer, keep your finger off that trigger, and watch. The hammer will not go as deep into the frame because that hammer block is in the way. So that's why this is the super duper safe way, because let's say you did it the other way. All right, let's say you just held back the hammer and then you release the trigger. Let's say you slip guess what? Bang, it just fired because your finger's still on that trigger. So you notice how deep it is into that frame? And watch when I release, it comes back. So once again, fill it up with your thumb, release, get your thumb out of the way. And at this point, as long as you're not pulling on that trigger, even if you slip, it's not going to fire. Sorry, had to cough there. Whew, sorry for that abrupt ending to that clip there. I had a coughing fit for whatever reason, and I had to mute myself real quick. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching and tuning in. Hopefully you found this video entertaining and helpful. Catch you guys next time.